Hey guys, it's Sayback here. Welcome back to my podcast. Today we're going to be diving deep into the life of a man who changed the way the world thought. He went completely against everything the world believed back then. And turns out he was right. The Earth orbits the Sun. That's a solid fact that's been proven using scientific method. Today we can all agree on that. But what about 400 years ago? Back when the telephone didn't exist, way before the time of Albert Einstein, when false facts were spread around the world. And no, I don't mean silly false facts, which can obviously be seen as false. I mean serious ones, like the fact that the Earth is in the center of the solar system, and the Sun and other planets orbit it. Once, though, that was believed all over the world, and people who disagreed were punished. But one day, one man debunked that news. That man was Galileo. Today we dive deep into the whole life of Galileo and how he changed the way the world thought. And that's a big deal. Let's start from the very beginning. Galileo Galilei was born on the 15th of February 1564 in Pisa, Italy. He was the eldest son of Vincenzo Galilei, a musician. At a young age, Galileo was a curious, mischievous child who loved music and always asked why. He was taught by monks until his father sent him to the University of Pisa to become a doctor. Galileo attended the University of Pisa from 1581 to 1585. That's when he realized he loved maths and philosophy more. Galileo left the university in 1585 without getting a medical degree, due to financial struggles and lack of interest in medicine. After that, he studied mathematics and natural philosophy, which he was actually interested in, by reading the work of an Indian mathematician, Archimedes, and experimenting with machines. By 1589, he actually got a job as a mathematics lecturer at the University of Pisa. Then later on in 1592, he moved on to the University of Padua. There, he taught geometry, mechanics, and astronomy. That's also where he did some of his most crucial early work. Now, from late 1500s to early 1600s, people believed something we think would be absolutely absurd today. That the Earth was at the center of the solar system and the Sun moved around it. People thought God gave the planet life because it was at the center of everything. That the heaven was perfect and interchangeable. This was called the geocentric model. Meanwhile, a Polish astronomer, Nicolaus Copernicus, suggested that the Earth wasn't in the middle, and rather the Sun was. The Earth, like the other planets, orbited around the Sun, explaining day and night. But his theory wasn't accepted until then. Then, while Galileo was working at the University of Padua, something happened that would change his life and the life of many others forever. In 1609, news reached Italy that in Netherlands, a device had been invented that could make faraway objects appear closer. It was called a telescope. Galileo himself never saw the telescope, but using only descriptions, he built his own improved version. Not just slightly improved, massively improved. While the original magnified things about 3 times more, Galileo's version magnified them up to 20 times more. But instead of using them for spying on ships like others did, Galileo turned it to the sky, and what he saw shocked him. He observed that the moon was not perfectly smooth heavenly sphere. It had mountains and craters. This directly challenged the belief that the heavens were perfect and unchanging. Then he looked at Jupiter, and he saw something extraordinary. 4 small objects orbiting it. These were moons. Today we call them Galilean moons. Europa, Ganymede, Callisto, and Io. But why did this matter in the first place? How did this explain that the Earth wasn't in the centre of the solar system? Well, it's because if moons could orbit Jupiter, then not everything orbited the Earth. Then came another bombshell. Galileo observed the phases of Venus. Just like our moon, other planets also have phases, like Venus. But those phases only make sense if Venus orbits the Sun, not the Earth. This was powerful evidence for the heliocentric model, first proposed by Nicolaus Copernicus. But here's where things get tense. At the time, the Catholic Church supported the geocentric model, largely based on interpretations of scripture and work of ancient astronomer Ptolemy. Saying the Earth moved was not just a scientific opinion, it was seen as challenging religious authority. Then, in 1616, Galileo was warned not to promote the heliocentric theory as fact. For a while, he stayed quiet. But Galileo wasn't someone who could ignore evidence. In 1632, he published a book called Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. In it, three characters debate the geocentric and heliocentric models. Although it was presented as a discussion, it was clear which side Galileo supported. The church was not amused. In 1633, Galileo was put on trial by the Roman Inquisition. He was found vehemently suspect of heresy. Under pressure, he formally recanted his support for heliocentrism. Legends say that after recanting, he muttered under his breath, "And yet it moves." Whether he really said, that is debated, but the phrase became symbolic of scientific truth. Galileo was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. But here's the thing. Even under house arrest, he kept working. He wrote 2 New Sciences, a book that laid foundation for modern physics, especially in the study of motion and strength of material. His experiments with falling objects helped establish that acceleration due to gravity is constant, something later built upon by Isaac Newton. Galileo went blind later in life, but he never stopped thinking. He died on January 8th, 1642. And interestingly, that same year Isaac Newton was born, almost like science passing on the torch. Now, what was Galileo's legacy? Why is he still talked about today? Today, Galileo is often called the father of modern science, not just because he supported heliocentrism, because of how he did science. He combined mathematics, experimentation, and observation. And he didn't just rely on ancient texts. He tested ideas. He measured things. He questioned authority. He helped shift the world from accepting ideas because powerful people said so, to accepting ideas because evidence supported them. And that's huge. The Earth orbits the Sun. We know that because of evidence, because of observation, because of people willing to look through a telescope and admit, what if we're wrong? 400 years ago, that was revolutionary and life-changing. And that's why Galileo still matters today. I hope you learned something new this podcast, like how Galileo changed the way everyone thought. If it weren't for him, we would still think the Earth was in the centre of the solar system, and life would go on without asking the question, what if we're wrong? I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe to me on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. Until then, goodbye.